said, hey, bro, you got it. Let's go. And it was like the last mile.
Yeah.
And out of the corner of my eye, I could see he just picked it up right there. What's happening? Welcome back to another episode of the Sell With the Truth podcast. I'm your host, Eli Storr. Really excited to have you on this episode. This one is going to be a little bit different. We're going to dive into sales, but the guests that I have on, they just went through a brutal challenge with me, and my knees still hurt. My ankles still hurt. My quads hurt today. The three of us and a couple other folks on our team just ran 26.2 miles of a full marathon. So with that, Mark and Paige, how you guys doing? How you feeling? Let's ask you that first. How you feeling today? It's been 2 days as of the recording of this podcast.
I'm with you on the quads. My quads are pretty sore today. My feet are probably the most sore, but everything else is getting better with movement. So
My feet surprisingly don't feel that bad.
Okay.
Steps are still a pretty big challenge for me, but go up sideways on your butt, swing from the handrails,
Sure.
whatever you got to do to make it.
three-story townhouse.
Steps are not easy in our townhouse. So.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I've been taking the elevator for sure.
I have been here.
At TPG at the office here. Yeah, I can't do the steps. Well, I can do the steps. I choose not to do the steps right now.
I told myself I deserved like a couple days to not use the steps. So tomorrow I'll get back into the stair climb. So
I agree with you there. I agree.
How
with
are
you
your
there.
toes?
So they were extremely bruised, and
Oh yeah.
Did you see the photo?
No, I don't want to see it.
We can like upload it later.
It
I put a
is-
flashing thing, but it
It
was.
looks like he has gangrene
Yeah.
on his
Oh, boy.
second toes.
So my second toes are longer than any other toe in my foot, so they take most of like their ground and pound. And last night, like, I was like, this is like really uncomfortable. So I kind of like lanced them and just cleared them out. But yeah, a lot better today.
Well,
I sent my mom the photo, and she was concerned that maybe he needed to go to like the emergency room because that's how bad they look,
Oh,
honestly. So,
well,
but yeah.
who needs toenails anyway?
Oh no, it was like the whole
Yeah.
toe,
Oh.
not just the nail.
Yeah.
But
Who needs
Yeah.
toes? I guess.
yeah,
We're good though. We're
second
walking.
toe might be a little important, not as
All right.
important as the first, but
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Well, yeah, my toes hurt too. My whole body kind of aches. I'm not gonna lie, but we ran this marathon, and I don't know the percentage of people. I could probably Google. I got my computer right here.
I
but
gotcha.
we got it.
I don't know the percentage of people that actually run marathons.
0.05% in the United States of America. 0.01% of people in the world have run a marathon.
Finished.
Wow, finished a marathon.
Finished.
That is
Finished.
incredible.
I'm sure a lot of people
0.01%.
start and don't finish, but yeah,
Well, I gotta say, I'm proud of you guys for finishing the marathon.
proud of
Yeah,
you
man.
too.
Proud of you, man.
Glad that we did it together.
Yeah.
Let's dive into a little bit about like where did this even this marathon and I trust me, we're gonna relate it back to sales.
Yeah.
There's gonna be some things that will relate back to sales. But I would say first and foremost, like do things that are hard, man. Like I ran an ultra marathon a few years ago, so this is my first like actual marathon. But I ran it an ultra marathon, so it was a 50K. So it was 31 miles, a trail race. I lost some toenails.
You lost some
Nothing
toes.
touched toenails. But like that was a pivotal moment. This was in 2019, so it was before I even got into sales. It was such a pivotal moment in my personal development that like I crossed that finish line, and like there's been some cool things that I've done up to that point throughout my life. Like I'm pretty young, so like I'm still doing a lot of cool things, and I always think like do cool things and talk about them. Like if you want to make content, do cool things, talk about them. But running that 50K in 2019 when I ran it with Brian and Keith Calloway Jr., I crossed the finish line. I was like, holy shit, man! Like, excuse my French, but I just ran 31 miles. I finished an ultra marathon.
Yeah.
And like it was just such a pivotal moment in my mindset with everything. And from there, like I was like, okay, if I can do that, I can do like anything. Like I just gotta like prepare. Like it's not gonna be easy, but I can do anything.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think about that same thing when I crossed the finish line of this marathon. I was like, dude, there was head trash that I had to fight throughout this, and we'll get into that in a couple minutes here. But like there was head trash that I had to fight throughout this marathon. I mean, there were times I'm like, dude, why am I doing this? So I would love to hear from both of you guys. Like, have you done anything in the past that has been a very pivotal thing, or was this marathon like something you're like, you cross the finish line, like, wow,
in terms of like physical endeavors, this is by far the most difficult thing I've ever put myself through. And to go back to your point about like the head trash, I think that was mile 18 for me. That was like the stretch of where I was legitimately just kind of questioning like, why am I doing this? Or like doing the math in my head, which like really simple math. I'm like, oh my God, it's another 2 miles of 20 and then another 6. And that was when the doubt really crept in. But this is going to sound ridiculous, but like they say everyone runs their own race. Like you run your own race, right? I had to find some extra like motivation to keep myself from going. Not that I ever thought I was ever going to quit at that point, but just the doubt and the stress and the pain that you're going through. But whenever I would approach like swaths of people walking, you know, initially I was like, okay, well, like everyone else is walking, like it's cool, like you can walk a little bit. But then like as I got closer and closer, I was like, I'm going to smoke these people. Like I'm going to jog past this group. And then like, and it kept me going. Like every time I would go, and then when my knee would start to hurt a little bit more, I'd walk a little bit. But when I'd come up on another group that was walking, I was like, okay, I'm going to pass these people. And then when I got to 22, when it began to go kind of all downhill, that's where I really mentally and physically just perked up and was like, it's 4 miles, but it's literally like this has to be downhill for several. And then after that, it's got to be just 1 mile left. And then, I mean, that's how I kind of personally experienced it. But I'm really curious to ask you two, when you crossed it, was, for me, probably within 30 seconds was, I'm going to do this again, and I'm probably going to crush it. Like, I want to crush it fast. Now that I've been through it and experienced it all and seen it, I think I can do, like, way better than what I did.
I totally agree with that. I feel like before the marathon, I was like, this is one and done. I'm just going to say I did it once in my life, and I don't know. I think now, I mean, I trained. I mean, we ran through 15 miles. We didn't hit our 18-mile long run or our 20-mile long run. I think those probably would have helped us a significant amount because those were the toughest miles for me personally. So I think now that I have an idea of what it takes to accomplish finishing a full marathon, I think that I could be more competitive with myself next time because I know what to expect. I had no idea this time. But going back to your original question of like other things in my life, I mean, definitely the Grand Canyon hike was one of those things that I was like, wow, like I feel on top of the world. I can do anything. I feel like the same when I ran my half marathon, which seems like easy peasy now that I've ran a full, but I ran a half, maybe 5 or 6 years ago. And at the time, as a sprinter, I'm like, wow, like that's and it was a big accomplishment. And it's a huge accomplishment for, oops, sorry, my phone.
Paige is probably getting a phone call selling something right now. That's all I'm saying.
Maybe.
Do not edit this out, please. Keep this part in there because this is the life of a salesperson.
Probably should, but yeah, and that is a huge accomplishment for someone who runs a half. But I feel exactly how you said. I feel like I can accomplish anything, and I want to continue to keep pushing myself in the upcoming years. I think it's super special that you also have like the same mentality. I think that's why you want to do another one as well. And whether it's just running another marathon and trying to beat our times or doing a triathlon or whatever, I definitely see myself, pushing to the limits at another level and another, race or something of that nature. So
to answer your question, for me, I passed the finish line and I thought, dang, dude, if I'm going to do this again, I got to train more next time.
I mean, it's a good learning experience. Like, we trained very well early on, like going even back to December. And we were very consistent. And then life gets in the way. And, obviously work here picks up tremendously. And that cuts into time. And, I learned a lot, I think, from mistakes that were made this time around that, I'll give more attention to in detail. And I think that's why I'm so confident that I can do significantly better than what I did too.
So, and the fact that I thought I was going to be sore for like a week, and I'm still sore. Don't get me wrong, but I'm like, if I would have trained a little bit harder, I probably would have, not been as sore as I am today. And it's really not that bad. So I'm like, I think we're gonna, all of us. Are you good? We do it again?
I'll probably do it again. I just need to train more next time, right?
Yeah.
I just need to.
It doesn't even have to be in the marathon either. Like I'm interested in doing like shorter races, like 5Ks and stuff like that. Just
so much energy, right?
Yeah.
Like there's so much energy at the start of the race, and people are cheering you on.
Like
and
shout out to the entire city. It's the first time I've ever run a race.
Pittsburgh.
That was my
Let's go.
that was my first race ever. So it was a new experience to me. But like when you're just in it and feeling it and just suffering, and then there's some little kid who comes out into the street to give you a high five, or someone running to give you a beer or whatever. That's just like
or all
awesome.
the cool signs that people make, or the
hilarious.
Great signs, great signs. The music, live music that people were performing.
Super cool.
There's, mothers pushing their children in like running strollers that, I'm assuming through, the children's, hospital or something of that nature. And it's super inspiring. I mean, everyone out there has a story, and I wish that it would be possible to hear more of those stories, because I think it would inspire us even more than we even realize.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the head trash, because this is something that this directly relates to sales, by the way, right? Like as a salesperson, let's talk about that real quick. It's like let's say you're prospecting somebody, right? Or you've worked on a bunch of projects for somebody and they won't call you back, and you're thinking, oh man, they probably hate me, right? Like you got a little head trash in there. You're like talking yourself. You got to like talk yourself off the ledge, or you need to go to myself or Todd or somebody else on the team and be like, what would you do in this scenario? And then you get somebody else's outside perspective, and you think to yourself, you're like, actually, it's not that bad. They're probably just busy, right? That's a common piece of head trash that salespeople get. They're like, why is this prospect not calling me back? Do they hate me? And it's like, no. They probably are dealing with a flooded bathroom, a leaky roof, and they've got 1,300 other properties that they're dealing with all these things on. So they're just busy. So, as a salesperson, it's like we deal with that every day. And it's like you got to continue. You just got to keep pushing through it. And sometimes you got to talk with other people to get you to like get out of that mentality.
For sure.
Now during the marathon, and I experienced this during the ultra marathon too, there were mile markers, right? Like if those of you who have ran a marathon, you probably can relate to this, or have ran any significant amount of miles. Like I would say like 10 miles plus is very significant, right? And so there's different mile markers, and I would say like during the marathon, it was probably for me, it was like mile 16 or 17, I started to talk to myself about, why am I doing this? Like, I hate myself for doing this right now.
You're seeking the sign. You're like turning every corner, be like, that mile marker, the next one has to be there, and it's like another like 3/4 of the mile away, and you're just like, oh, come on, it's gotta be there.
I gotta be or like you start miscounting, like
you're delirious and you tell yourself you have 9 miles when you actually have 11. That's what I did.
Well, like, let's talk about it. Like, so that head trash piece of it, like I would love to hear how you guys got yourself through the head trash piece of it, because that's honestly like your knees are hurting. As Eminem says, what does he say? Knees weak. I don't remember. I'm just gonna say. I was gonna quote Eminem.
Knees weak.
Jesse, don't
Arms
laugh at
are
me.
heavy.
Yeah, there you go.
Got vomit on my sweater already.
But like your knees are hurting, right? Like you're talking to yourself. You're like, man, I'm only 9 miles away, and actually, you're 13. You're like, ah, shoot, I miscounted. Like, how did you guys get through that head trash piece of it, Paige?
I think you just have to have the ability to stay focused under pressure. I mean, having the people around you, in the race, regardless of if I was running the first 13 with you or kind of how you were just like watching someone nearby to you and kind of staying focused on a goal. You always have to have that goal and try to keep just kind of working towards it. And
One
I think
step
just being focused and patient, that was my key. It definitely is easier when you have that team around you, and I don't think at any point, even once you left me, I felt like I didn't have a team around me, because the whole city was my team. You know what I mean? I looked over and I saw someone, it was probably mile 17. You guys probably saw the sign too. It was remember your why. And I was like, geez, I needed that like so incredibly bad right now, because I wanted to stop. I definitely walked. Yeah, call an Uber. There's people having signs everywhere like, I'll call you an Uber. But I wanted to walk. I didn't want to walk for long, but I definitely gave myself the opportunity to walk. But when I saw that sign saying, remember your why, and, thought back to Laura and how powerful her conversation that, she had the opportunity to speak at the carb load dinner the night before, and how emotional she got about her niece, and like how much of an impact like we actually made on people with cystic fibrosis and fundraising for these children. And so that got me through. But I think with anything, just staying focused on the goal. And kind of side note, but my watch died, like probably mile 13, I don't know. And kind of going back to staying focused, I mean, I had no idea if I was running 30-minute miles or 12-minute miles. I had no idea. And it was a mental battle. I mean, just trying to hold myself accountable and just working towards that finish line the entire time. And I stayed focused, and also had the fear that like my mom and dad were going to be around the corner and see me walking. So I was like, I don't want them to see me walking. So just tried to keep powering through. But I totally agree with you. The head trash, you kind of have to get that out of the way, whether it's sales or in something hard that you try to tackle in your life, and just focus on the end goal. The end goal will come.
One step in front of the other.
One step in front of the other.
There's something, and that's what I thought about the entire time. I'll get to you in just a second, Mark. I'll ask you the same question. But, for me, I was like, it was one step in front of the other. I was like, listen, I'm not finishing this. Like, I'm either going to finish this walking or running or jogging or something. Right. Like, either way, I'm going to finish it. And there's no other way to get through this, right? There was something that was super impactful for me. I don't remember exactly what the sign said, but there was a woman, an elderly woman, who was sitting in a wheelchair. I don't know if you guys saw it, maybe mile like 14, 15, something like that, who was holding a sign, and it said something along the lines of like, be grateful that you can run, or have this pain or something like that. And I was like, dude, I like that was, I was like, okay, I can, like my IT bands hurt like hell right now, like hurt, but like this lady it would switch places with me in a heartbeat. Like if she could just run the marathon one more time, she would. She would switch places instantly. So I was like, all right, I can keep running. Yeah. Like this pain in my knees, this pain in my calves.
Temporary.
It's temporary. Yeah. And so for me, that was so impactful. I'm like, this lady would switch places with me instantly.
For sure.
I can keep going.
Good perspective.
Yeah.
Mark, same question.
I think it just goes back to the training, because I'm not a runner. I don't really like or love running, but like in those long runs of feeling what you're feeling in that moment, I remember just kind of telling myself, looking back, it's almost like it's going to be worse than what you're feeling now, because there's a whole lot more that you're going to have to run. And kind of like alluding to earlier, obviously we've partnered up with cystic fibrosis, which is, a huge motivator and push. But when you're out there and you're just suffering, like another thing is you got to find like your motivation, like not that I'm a star athlete, but like superstar, like Michael Jordan would find anything to give him fire. And there were about 3 or 4 people that were always within like a couple hundred yards of me, vice versa. Like I'd either be out in front of them and they'd catch up with me, or I'd fall behind. But I was like, as long as I can keep an eye or still see that guy and his wife, like I'm okay. Like I'm not slowing down, I'm not falling back, and you're just kind of reaching for keep going. Like you've made it this far, and prior to us going in, she mentioned that it was a one and done thing, and so in it you're like, you know what, just this is the only time you're ever gonna do this in your life. So like just eat it, go finish. Like, and then now that we're done, I'm like, all right, I kind of like want to do that again.
Yeah, I think we'll probably do it again, but I can totally relate there. So. Super humbling. There was the gentleman when we were about to cross the bridge. It was probably mile 10, whatever bridge it was that led up to Oakland for us. When we took the big mile 12 up towards Oakland and we could see the cathedral. So whatever that last bridge was, there was this old man who was with like maybe more of a middle-aged man, and they were power walking. And I don't know when they started. They could have started 30 minutes before. I have no idea. But they were there, and they were working hard, and we ran past them. But when we passed them, I said, great job, keep it up. Thinking like I would never see them again the entire race. Well,
one of the power walkers, too, was like severe stenosis, like hunched over, bent over.
I mean,
still going at a good clip, but
very, very frail, but moving. But not running, power walking, okay? So, like I said, I never thought I was going to see him again the entire rest of the race. I figured, we'd blow past him and, he'd finish a couple hours behind us. Well, I saw him again at mile 23, and he was not stopping. He would not stop. And I would run a little bit and I would get close. And then I would work my way up to him, and then I would try to power walk to keep up with him because I'm like, if he can power walk that speed, I can power walk that speed. So I was trying to keep up with him, and he'd get a little bit further away from me, and then I'd run to catch up, and then I did end up finishing before him. I think the last couple miles, then I powered through because I had that adrenaline rush. I saw my friend Marina. She ran like that last stretch before he made the right towards the finish line. And then, obviously that last bit, like you just give it everything you have. So. Yeah. I mean, I definitely beat him, but I saw him after the race and I told him, I was like, you are incredible. I'm like, you made it through that whole race. And I would love to know what his time was because I'm sure it was probably pretty darn close to mine. And he stayed consistent that whole time. And I asked him how many times he had done it. And he said, I've never missed a marathon here in Pittsburgh. And cool. Same with his wife. And
that's like, I think it's was it their 13th marathon in Pittsburgh, something like that?
I think that's what they said. So super inspirational. And I mean, it was just definitely humbling just to, I thought I was going to smoke him and we came in pretty much side by side. So
like, speak about like humbling, like you see the 26-mile marker and you're like, oh, it just got to be right there. Like as soon as I turn that corner, like it's got to be right there.
There's like 4 more turns.
That's just like that is so. It's the longest 0.2 miles I think you'll ever run in your life. It was
by
like,
far.
Oh, well, and it ends uphill too. You're just like, come on.
One of the coolest things I thought too with the entire race, and like I relate this back to like our team, right? Like you get encouraging messages from our sales team all the time, right? Like, hey, you just closed a big project. Nice job, great work. Like you're the first salesperson that's leading the leaderboard right now, Paige. Awesome job. I'm gonna beat you, but awesome job, right? Like it's competitive. But like as we're running the race, there's other people around you. I don't even know what these people's names are. But like there were times where people could probably tell I was hurting, right? I was walking, I like took a break to stretch or something, and someone came up behind me, they're like, "Hey, you got it, bro. Keep going."
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, let's go.
Yeah.
And so I did the same thing to other people.
Yeah.
When I saw other people were hurting, there was a gentleman that was like, I could just tell he was in so much pain. And I didn't really stop to talk to him. I didn't talk to like get his name or anything, but I just like I walked past him. I said, "Hey, bro, you got it. Let's go." And it was like the last mile.
Yeah.
And out of the corner of my eye, I could see he just picked it up right there.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's
sometimes all you need.
I don't even
when
know
you're like the only person, like coming across a swath of people, and you're the only one walking, and they're like, "Come on, you got." Like the number of times I started jogging again, I was like, "You're right." Like I can do it. Like that. It's huge.
Yeah. But yeah, especially that last mile. Kind of correlating it back to sales. I mean, we knew we were a mile out, but we didn't know how many turns, how many corners, and it's like you just never know how many turns, how many obstacles that you're gonna have until you reach that goal. But I think there's so many things that correlate to sales, and it's interesting to kind of hash through it. So
one step in front of the other. Well, I'm proud of each of you. I'm proud of the rest of our team too.
I know.
Laura, David.
Oh my God.
Who is that? Is that it?
Mikey Saps.
Mikey Saps. Yeah. Mikey Saps ran it. Yeah. Like, man, it's just it is a feat, and like you said, like almost nobody.
It's crazy.
And the fact that's
crazy. Almost nobody does marathons.
Yeah. And the fact that we had 5 people. What did we just say? 5 of us.
Yeah. Us 3. Laura ran the full day. 5.
Yeah. So
and then Mikey Saps.
So 6. I mean, that's pretty incredible. That's 6 people who work with us.
6 out of 30 something in this company.
Yeah. So pretty special. And I think the fact that we have people on our team that are willing to do stuff like that, it's even more motivating for us to get out there. I'm sure if, we do it again next year, someone else, I mean, Micah said he already mentioned, he's like, maybe I'm going to do it next year. So it's contagious. So I don't know. It's fun. I love that we have this atmosphere here at the Pavement Group. So
I love it. Yeah. I love it. Well, I love it, guys. We'll do it next year.
Yeah.
Oh, are you committing?
No.
Wait. They had the pre-sale. If you wanted
the email
cheapest,
late last night.
Yeah.
Like,
I thought about just signing
so
up.
So did I.
I don't know about that. We'll see. We'll see. Maybe.
I don't know if you'd be. Yeah.
I just need to train more. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
So, well, I appreciate you guys. Appreciate you for jumping on, and I'm proud of you. Proud of each of you. I'm glad we were able to finish it together.
Yeah.
And it's just an incredible feat, and everything like relates back to sales and life, and you take one step in front of the other. You stay consistent. You keep good people around you.
Yep.
Keep motivating people around you, and they'll keep motivating you.
Yep.
That's all you need.
Very good. Thanks for having us. It was such a fun episode.
Yeah,
Of course.
thanks for letting us on.
Thanks.
Appreciate you guys for tuning in to another episode of Sell the Truth. Tune in next week, not next week, probably 2 weeks from now. Getting all my shows messed up. Jesse, yep, he's nodding his head. Yep. Tune in 2 weeks from now for the next episode. Appreciate you guys, and we'll see you soon. Peace.